Hey folks, today we're going to talk about how I went to this from this. But first, today's video is brought to you by Ford Insurance. Insurance the way it should be. Ford specializes in both commercial and personal insurance solutions. To learn more, visit fordinsurance.com. Okay, so dads out there, you know what happens when you have kids, right? You get relegated to the basement. And well, so did I. I had to give up my cozy upstairs office with wonderful features like windows for the cold, unforgiving concrete goodness of my basement. But I was determined to come out on top and take advantage of the space and make the ultimate game room out of it. First, let's talk about the design. Now that I'm a father, I get to spend roughly 7.5 minutes a week gaming. So I want to make sure that those precious few minutes were the best they could possibly be. To achieve this, I wanted to have a single gaming PC power 2 gaming stations. Yeah, 2. On one hand, I want a triple monitor Simrig with a racing wheel and pedals, surround sound, dynamic lighting, VR, a full keyboard and mouse setup. And on the other hand, as I get older, climbing into and out of a Simrig is increasingly uncomfortable. So I wanted to also have a classic desk setup, something with a premium OLED ultra-wide display, and oh yeah, I want surround sound there too. No headphones for this old man. My kids may pump me to the basement, but at least they're gonna hear me down there. Now let's walk through how this was done. When I was in college, I lived in a closet. Literally, my room was a closet. It was just big enough to fit a full-size mattress. So I lofted the mattress and I put a desk underneath, and I have to say, as ghetto as that was, it made an awesome gaming cave. So my first thought was, yeah, let's do that again. And under the stairs is the perfect place. I can completely close it off and isolate all light to make my 34-inch Alienware OLED panel truly shine. And running 5.1 speakers is a cinch with all the easy mounting locations on the walls. The first job was framing. I mean, it's a nice feature to be able to get into and out of a space, so I need to move some studs and make way for a door. Next up was the flooring. Public service announcement: if you live in a house with a basement, before laying down any flooring on bare concrete, test to see if there's a vapor barrier. If not, you're gonna end up with a wet mess. I know this because I did end up with a wet mess after installing rubber flooring in my workshop just a few feet away. To test this, you can simply tape down some plastic wrap and see if moisture collects on it over a day or two. If it does, well, you need to create an air gap. One easy way to do this is to install subfloor with a plastic membrane on the bottom to allow air and moisture to move freely. Make sure you leave a gap along the walls for ventilation though. With the subfloor down, the next challenge is electrical. The single shared 15 amp circuit just isn't gonna cut it for my dream gaming room. A monster gaming PC, 2 5.1 surround systems, 4 monitors, a ton of peripherals, and oh yeah, space heaters. This is an unheated basement in New England, which means it is cold as balls in the winter. That's the technical term, or as we like to say up here, colder than a witch's tit. To feed this power-hungry tiny home, I ran 2 20 amp circuits using 12 gauge Romex, and I ran each to a switch so I can drop the power when it's not in use. You'd be surprised the phantom load on all this equipment, and with electricity rivaling the cost of Wagyu beef, well, yeah, keep it off when not being used. I mean, I'm such a dad now. I walk around my house turning off lights in empty rooms and grumbling and moaning to myself while I do it. For the walls, instead of drywall, I hate mudding and sanding. I decided to use 1/8 inch hardboard. It's pretty light, easy to cut, and reasonably cheap. Just measure the panels, cut and mount. Going back to the freezing ass cold, I also installed R13 insulation into the ceiling walls of the cave to keep some of that space heater goodness hanging around. Now for the desk. Space is not an available feature in this room, so I had to get creative. A couple of strong ties and shelf brackets are the perfect support for my cheap DIY tabletop, which is made out of 2 stair treads glued together. A couple of coats of black stain and poly, and they make a perfect desk. Because I now live under the stairs, no standard sized door is going to fit my hobbit hole, so off to Home Depot to buy some trim and tack it together to build a custom bifold door. A couple of coats of paint and the doors in the wall are now complete. It's time to get rid of all that ugly subfloor. Vinyl plank flooring does the trick. I picked up the cheapest stuff I could find. On the outside floor of the Simrig, I cut some small thin strips to hide the edges and make it pretty. Now on to the final touches, like building a corner desk for the cave and mounts for my joystick and throttle, and we're ready to put in all the equipment. Well, not yet. The last thing to do is put up curtains all around the Simrig to block out any distractions while I'm cruising the highway in American Truck Simulator. Now, if you guys are interested in the PC and the Simrig, let me know in the comments, and I'll do a separate video talking about that build and all the different components. But hey, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, you know what to do.